The Paddock Mall Studios. This is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. Nice looking Monday morning. Just look out there. That's a beautiful day out there, right?
It is gorgeous.
Kris Frieswick is on the phone. She's an award-winning journalist, an award-winning editor, a contributor to Medium. I contribute to Extra Large, Robin. She also contributes to Entrepreneur Magazine, the Boston Globe Magazine, The Economist, Hemispheres, the Wall Street Journal, and it goes on and on. She's... got a book called The Ghost Manuscript. It's a thriller novel. I was going to read a little bit to you from the Amazon listing, but we have a very short interview with her, so let me let her tell you about her book. Kris Frieswick. Good morning, Kris. It's nice to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm actually calling from Jersey City, New Jersey right now.
Jersey City, Robin.
Nice.
Robin has a son just not too far from where you are, in Clifton.
Yeah, I recently got a job in downtown New York City, and we moved here about a month ago from our house on Cape Cod in Massachusetts.
Oh my God, one city to the next, right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you for being on the show with us today. Your book sounds like a really interesting possible movie. Is that possible?
Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be fabulous?
Yeah,
Or a TV series. I mean, if there's anyone listening out there who would like to, think about my book as the next Game of Thrones series, like I'm willing to chat.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you're getting some really good reviews. Tell us like a thumbnail version of the story, like a movie trailer version of the Ghost Manuscript.
The Ghost Manuscript is about a rare book authenticator named Kris Jones who gets sucked into the search for the tomb of a legendary Middle Ages warrior who came to be known as King Arthur. And along the way, she encounters trouble and strife and travels across the ocean several times in the search for this rare and hidden tomb. And she is eventually assisted by the ghost of the monk who wrote the manuscript.
Which is interesting. So this is in like meditation or in dreams when she's sleeping? How does how does that happen?
The monk shows up. He just shows up and just starts talking to her while she's wide awake, just going about her daily business. And, it's interesting. People want to call this book a paranormal thriller because, there's a ghost in it, which seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do.
Sure.
But when you actually read the book, you realize it's actually not a paranormal thriller. So I'm going to just leave that little teaser dangling out there.
That's a great teaser. Oh, my gosh.
And even though your book is about adventure and all of this search and research that she does, it also has another purpose. It's a purpose inside herself because she's built this wall around her, and now she needs to learn how to forgive others and feel that kind of love that can be generated when she does that.
It's interesting that you should say that because the more I talk about the book with people, I've been in this book. I worked on this book for 12 years, and sometimes you don't have any control over what people take away from your book when you're done with it, which is such a fascinating process to hear what people walk away with. But what's been very interesting is realizing what I'm walking away with. And even though this book was written as a thriller, and I wanted to have a really strong female protagonist who didn't have any special military training and wasn't an ex-spy and was just like a normal person who gets sucked into this adventure, I realized about talking about it, thinking about it, touring, talking to audiences, that this book is really, really strongly about relationships, parent and child relationships. And that really surprised me. But then when I thought about it, it doesn't surprise me that much. I unfortunately have lost both of my parents. And you think about all those things that you would love to be able to talk to them about and all the things that didn't get said. And that theme runs so strongly through this book that the thriller part of it is fun and grabs you, but I feel like the more I talk about it, the more I realize that relationship part is really what is resonating with people, which is really unexpected and wonderful.
I'm guessing that comes naturally. I'm guessing that there's a part of you that has a great respect for family relationships and true relationships, and that made its way into the book, maybe even subconsciously.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of what writers do on the page comes through without their knowledge, and sort of shows up in like word choice or plot lines that they decide or something that they want to pursue.
Yeah.
And like you don't consciously say, "Oh, I want to write a book about fathers and sons and mothers and daughters," But then all of a sudden you read it and you're like, "Damn, I just wrote a book about mothers and sons and fathers and daughters, and I didn't even realize it until it was done." So that was really a great revelation to me, even.
Your book is broken up into different locations. You actually tell the reader what area of the world they're going to be reading about.
Yeah, and that, they say write what you know, and I definitely did that.
Really?
I was born and raised the book takes place in 3 places. I was born and raised in Massachusetts, went to college, and most of my professional life was spent in the Boston area, so the beginning of the book takes place very strongly in Boston. My husband's Welsh. The story that gave me the impetus for this entire novel was told to me by my father-in-law, my husband's dad, when we were in Wales, and I've spent a great deal of time there, and I've sort of fallen madly in love with that country and its people, and so that country figures very prominently in the story. And then, as I said, my husband and I have spent, many years on Cape Cod. We lived there full time recently, and also as a child, I was there all the time with my family, and so Cape Cod figures very, very strongly in this book as well.
So does the paranormal aspect of the book, does that come naturally as well? Are you, it says here you wrote for Medium, I assume that's a magazine. Do you have...
No, that's ironic, isn't it? Medium, not like Medium like the Long Island Medium kind of Medium. It's more like it's a magazine that, it's an online magazine called Medium that is the singular of media. So it's
okay. Well, then I wasn't so far off by saying I'm extra large. So Kris, the protagonist. Am I saying her name right? Kris?
It's called. Her name is pronounced Karis.
Karis.
But that's very close.
Okay, so she's. It sounds like she's a woman just living her life and having a good time doing it, and she has this paranormal. But you kind of hinted that it's not paranormal. Oh gosh, Robin, you got that far in the book? Do you know what she's talking about?
Yeah.
We can't reveal it.
It's really no, we can't do that. This is a really fabulous read, and it's written so well. And I love that she has these demons within herself that she needs to conquer as well.
Yeah, we've got a woman who has sought solace in ancient manuscripts. She's a rare book authenticator. Her job is basically making sure that if a sale takes place between the auction house that she works for and a private collector, she's sort of the intermediary who makes sure that book is actually what it's purporting to be, and make sure it's authentic. And she really prefers books to people. She doesn't like people very much. They've really hurt her over the course of her life, and she really only trusts one person in her world. That's her best friend Annie, and everybody else has kind of screwed her over, and she's like, you know what, I'm just going to hang out with books from now on. They don't talk back. And then she finds this rare manuscript that actually does talk back.
And it's really, really hard to trust people anymore. When you've been burned, you just don't want to trust.
Right, and that again, that plays so strongly into so many of the storylines in this book. This idea of having to learn how to trust people again, because you can't accomplish what you want without reaching out and saying, hey, you know what, I am going to actually let my guard down and let you in and let you help me. And it's that's the hardest thing in the world for her. She can fight off bad guys, but the hard part for her is actually letting her guard down and letting people in.
Kris, thank you for being on the show with us today. For the listeners, I have a copy of the Ghost Manuscript. It is a uncorrected proof, I think is what it says on the cover, so you have a collector's copy. The rest of us have to go buy it. I found it on Amazon. Do you have a website, Kris?
I do. You can just go, the easiest way to find me is to go to theghostmanuscript.com, and you'll get all the information you ever wanted.
I think you have a hit on your hands, Kris. Thank you so much for being on the show. When you get big, don't forget us, okay?
Oh, I will. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kris. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Here is your 1-minute news brief. 3 people were killed.